Hey, what's up, Losh? All right, new stream because the old one died. I'm sorry. That was my fault. That was totally my fault. I had my VPN on, and then I think it was causing some connection issues. So I turned it off. But when you turn off the VPN, it has to reconnect. So I was disconnected for a minute, and then the freaking stream ended. So this is the right stream. This is the new one. Yeah. All right, Didi, glad you can make it. Hey, Katie, yay. All right, what's up, Tia? Hey, guys, welcome back. Hey, Kagome. Hi, Dad. Yeah, Daddy's gonna read you a story. A little bedtime story. What's up, Madden? All right. I gotta remember to turn off my VPN before turning on the stream, or this shit happens. What's up, Ayush? Ayush? Oh. What's up, Yuhin Tom? I'm sorry. So, yeah. So today's chapter is gonna be pretty long. One of the longer chapters, I believe. Korea, you had watermelon bubble tea today? Damn, that sounds really good. Hey, what's up, Amy? Yeah, I haven't had like boba that I haven't made at home in a while. So first thing I'm gonna do after this pandemic ends, I'm gonna go to a pho place, a pho restaurant to eat some pho. And number two, I'm gonna go to boba and buy some boba tea. I can't wait. I have to take a shot the next time the VPN is on. Okay. All right, next time I forget to turn on the VPN or turn off the VPN, I will take a shot. Yeah, speaking of pho, so okay. Some people, I mentioned pho in my latest video, and some people did not know what it was. And I feel sorry for those people. Wait a second here. So if you don't know, this is pho, you guys. It's a Vietnamese dish. Okay, it's like soup. With meat and noodles inside. Yeah. And it's really good. It's really good. Yeah. So my mom is Vietnamese, and she makes some good food. She's a great cook, and sometimes she makes pho for me to bring home. Right? Yeah. But she's also like one of those people who think that MSG is bad for you. Now it's actually not. Okay, MSG is not bad for you. MSG is just like salt. Okay. So yeah. So if you put salt in your food, then you can put MSG in your food. Doesn't matter, right? Yeah, as long as you don't put too much, right? You're not taking off the cup. You're not taking off the cap of the salt shaker and just sticking the salt up your ass or something, right? If you don't do that, right? Don't do that. That's not healthy. But like otherwise, um it's actually not bad for you. So she would make pho and she would not put any MSG in it. Okay? So she would give me the pho and I would bring it home. And then secretly, I'll just put MSG in it. I just put a bunch of MSG in it and eat it. And it's great. And it's awesome. And she doesn't know. Yeah, don't tell her. Pho is heavenly? Yeah, it is. You're right, brother. Yeah, some people don't know it. That's why I'm introducing you to pho. Yeah, some people pronounce it pho or po. Po. I'm gonna go eat some po. Don't tell your mom, she thinks MSG is poison. It's not poison. It's fine. Instant pho? I've never had instant pho. What, does it come in a bag? Like ramen? I've never had that. No, not all pho is spicy. That's not true. Usually they get if you order pho at a restaurant, they just give it to you. I guess they no, they give it to you in a bowl, and then they have the veggies in a side dish, right? So you can put in whatever veggies you want, and they'll include peppers, like jalapeno peppers, in the dish. And if you want spicy, you just put those in inside your soup. But if not, you don't have to, and it's good. Okay, yeah, they have basil leaves, right? That was really good. Yes, Korea, you should try it. Go to a good pho restaurant. Okay, so I got another package in the mail today. I already know what it is because the person already contacted me. Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one. All right, let's open this before we do anything. Take my trusty letter opener here. Put this thing up. Ugh. All right. What do you guys think it is? It's pretty big. Ugh. Okay. Give me a second. Are you ready? Check it out. Ooh. Ooh. It's an actual vinyl record. And you see who's on it? Oh wait. Let me change the camera. Sorry. Sorry. Let me change the camera. Do you see who's on it? It's Rage Against the Machine. It's like one of my favorite bands back in the day. Look at that shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it has a... Wait, hold on. I thought it was signed by the band. Because the person said it was signed by the band. Maybe this is it. This is B-Boy Massacre. It's signed by someone. I'm not sure if that's the band or is this like from B-Boy Massacre. But anyways, yeah. No, it's a big deal, you guys. Like Rage Against the Machine was one of my favorite bands. They're not they're not a band anymore, even though some of their members are still playing. Ugh. Ugh. All right. Yep, it's a vinyl record. Now I don't have a vinyl player. I don't have a record player. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it on the wall or something. Lizzie. Well, thank you so much. I hope I can find a good editor too. Yeah, I'm looking for an editor for my videos. Just to save some time. Like I'll still do the drawings and stuff, but creating of the videos and editing it and putting together all the the artwork. I think it would be better for someone else to do it because they'll be better than me at it. So hopefully, it should increase the quality of the videos. Stick it in my computer. Yeah, I'm gonna stick that record inside of my CD player on my computer. Let's see how it goes. So yeah, thank you to Joe for that. Joe was the one who sent me that record. Okay. Let's have here's today, my snack today. This is I think like chocolate cookies or something. Oops, is that upside down? It's a chocolate cookie. Ooh. In the shape of a train for some reason. Am I eating animal crackers on screen? Mm. It's chocolate. Yeah, it is an animal cracker. It's chocolate plus cherry flavor. Yeah. I'm not a big vinyl guy. No. I don't have a player. I'm just gonna put it on a wall or something. It will look nice on a wall, I think. Do you guys remember laser discs? Those gigantic CDs that never took off at all? And they're like, yeah, we thought people thought that was the next big thing. But now CDs overtook that. Oh, anyways. Okay, so let's see. What happened last week, okay? What happened last week in the last chapter of our novel here? Not much, actually. Not much happened last week. Last week, I remember our hero Ling Hu Chong was kidnapped by these guys. This old man, this guy named Old Man. His name is literally Old Man, and he's this big dude, and he kidnaps Ling Hu Chong, so he could feed Ling Hu Chong's blood to his daughter who's dying. Okay, because he spent years and years making this medicine that was supposed to cure his daughter, his fatally ill daughter, but Ling Hu Chong was tricked into drinking the medicine before. So the guy's solution was to have the daughter drink Ling Hu Chong's blood, right? So maybe that'll cure her. But then they find out who Ling Hu Chong is, and for some reason, they're very cordial to Ling Hu Chong. Okay, they're very respectful to him. We don't know why yet. So this old man doesn't go forward with the plan. All right, so he's resigned to having his daughter die. All right, but Ling Hu Chong, being the hero that he is, he makes the daughter drink his blood. Okay? He makes the daughter drink his blood, and he's on the floor. He's bleeding. But the old man and his friends come to help Ling Hu Chong, and then the master also come. Ling Hu Chong's master, and they give him back to his master, and they go back to their boat. Okay, which includes the rest of his school, the Huashan school, and then Also, the master's daughter and her boyfriend. Um, the daughter is Yue Lingshan, and the boyfriend is Lin Pingzhi. They were kidnapped, but now they were returned. Okay, they were kidnapped by this giant man and a monk or something, and now they're returned. And I think that's basically it. That's basically what happened last week. Yeah. So let's start with this week. Oh wait, let me bring up my sound effects. All right. Chapter 16, Gaining Blood. Amid the much drivel from the Peach Valley's 6 ferries, the boat set sail toward the lower reaches of the Yellow River. It was almost the crack of dawn. Clouds of morning mist hovered above the billowing waves, extending infinitely into the far distance, free from inhibition and creating a magnificent view for the passengers aboard the boat. Gradually, the morning sun rose above the horizon, casting a golden shine on the boat, while reflecting in the river below, creating glistening reflections in the shapes of thousands of snakes. A small boat in the distance hoisted its sails and traveled toward them head on. Catching the easterly wind full force with the cyan sail, the small boat moved swiftly up the stream. The giant picture of a white foot was painted in the middle of the cyan sail, and after the small boat had come closer so that everyone could take a good glimpse at the picture, they all concluded that it was obviously the picture of a female's foot, judging from the fine shape and delicacy it had presented. Why would someone paint a foot on the sail? How bizarre, the Huashan apprentices muttered among themselves. This boat most likely belongs to the bear duo of the northern desert, Branch Fairy announced. Oops, Madame Yue, Miss Yue, you girls had better watch out. It couldn't have been any clearer. Those guys on the boats are fond of eating girls' feet. So the bear duo of the northern desert, those were the guys that kidnapped Yue Lingshan and Lin Pingzhi, okay, and then returned them. I think. Yue Lingshan spat at him in disgust. Yet a slight panic had already started swelling inside her. Minutes later, the small boat was well within sight, and the passengers on the big boat soon noticed the faint singing coming from out of the boat's cabin. The sound was gentle and soft, and the lyric was peculiar. No one could understand a word of it, while the tonality was so utterly intimate that it didn't sound like singing, but rather moaning or groaning. And then it changed, now more like the sound of a love ritual, ardent and lascivious to the extreme. The many young apprentices of the Huashan school all blushed with embarrassment as Madame Yue grunted in disgust. What kind of monster is this? Suddenly, a girl's sweet voice floated out from inside the small boat. Is young Mr. Ling Hu of the Huashan Sword School aboard your boat? Chong, pay no attention to her, Madame Yue whispered. We'd really like to have a good look at young Mr. Ling Hu, if that's all right. The girl asked again, her voice so charming and agreeable, as though it had carried some kind of magical power that could sway one's heart. While the words still echoed in everyone's ears, a girl had leapt out from the small boat's cabin and stood on the bow of the boat, smiling. She was dressed in a blue skirt with white flower patterns. Outside the skirt, an embroidered apron with many colorful and shining decorations hung from her chest all the way to her knees, looking splendid in green and gold. The girl appeared to be around 27 or 28 years of age. Her skin had a slightly yellowish tone, and her two eyes were much larger than average, the pupils pitch black. The pair of large gold earrings dangling from her ears was at least the size of a wine cup. The two ends of a multicolored waistband around her waist shot forward from the force of the wind, but she was actually standing there barefooted. Even though the girl had shown great charm, but after hearing her voice before actually seeing her look, it was only natural to think that the charming of her voice far exceeds the charm of her looks. The girl smiled at the passengers on the big boat. By the way she dressed, one can easily tell that she was a minority girl. Wait, what's a minority girl? Is she a kisune? It's a fox, isn't she? Let's read this reference here. What's a minority girl? So Han is the main nationality in China and account for 92% of the entire Chinese population. In ancient time, minorities were always looked down. Okay, so they actually mean minorities, ethnic minorities. Yeah, right. How does singing sound? How does the singing sound like moaning and groaning? The boat carrying members of the Huashan school was traveling downstream, and it seemed as if it would have collided with the small boat when the boat suddenly turned around in a swift maneuver, and after lowering the sail, the small boat now started traveling downstream side by side with the big boat. Yue Buchun suddenly remembered something. Miss, are you a subordinate of the Chief Blue from the Five Sylph sect in Yunnan? He asked. You do have some insights, but you've only gotten half of it right. I am from the Five Sylph sect indeed, but I am not a subordinate of Chief Blue. The girl giggled and then replied in a soft tone. Taking a few steps forward until he was at the bow of the boat, Yue Buchun cupped his hands in greeting. My name is Yue Buchun. Miss, would you be kind enough to inform me of your respectable surname and enlighten me with your purpose in a detoured visit and the advice you will favor me today? I am a meow girl. I don't understand all your fancy talking here. What did you say? The girl grinned. Miss, what's your family name? Yue Buchun asked again. You already know my family name. Why do you still ask me? The girl chortled. I asked because I don't really know your family name, Yue Buchun explained. You are a grown-up man. See, you've even got long goatees. Obviously, you know my family name. Why make a scene and deny it? The girl let out a big grin. These words sounded quite disrespectful, but she kept smiling, a most innocent grin on her face. Her voice did not carry a trace of hostility. Miss, you must be joking with me, Yue Buchun replied. Now, Headmaster Yue, what's your family name? The girl asked with a bright smile. Miss, you already know that my family name is Yue. Why ask while you know the answer? Yue Buchun said uncomfortably. Madame Yue had enough of the kind of frivolous dialogue. Don't pay attention to her, she whispered to her husband. Yue Buchun put his left hand behind his back and shook it a few times, signaling Madame Yue to stay put. Why is Mr. Yue shaking his hands behind his back? Root Fairy became excited. Oh, I see. Madame Yue told him to not pay attention to that girl, but after seeing how pretty and coquettish the girl is, he wouldn't listen to his wife and would rest at nothing but to pay a lot of attention to her. Did you say that I am pretty and coquette something? Thanks a lot, the girl said, chuckling. Your Han girls are certainly prettier than us Meow girls. Apparently, she didn't know that the word coquettish was actually a derogatory term and was very pleased to hear others praising about her beauty. Then she turned to Yue Buchun. You already know my family name. Why do you ask while you know the answer then? She's a cat girl. That's funny. Hey, what's gonna happen when Mr. Yue doesn't listen to his wife? Branch Fairy muttered. It's not gonna be good, mark my word, Flower Fairy concluded with a evil grin. Isn't Mr. Ye's nickname the Gentleman's Sword? Trunk Fairy joined in. So he is no gentleman after all. He already knew what her name is and still asks for it again and again, trying to make conversation. I think he just wants to keep talking with the girl. Yue Buchun was greatly embarrassed by the remarks from the Peach Valley Six Fairies. These six brothers never watched their mouths. Heaven knew what more garbage might come out from their holes, and what impression would that leave the many apprentices when they hear this. But knowing what kind of people the Peach Valley Six Fairies were, he simply couldn't take it seriously. So he cupped his hands and spoke again. Will you please pass along my greetings to Chief Blue? Yue Buchun of the Huashan Sword School wishes Elder Blue good health. That apparently shocked the girl. She opened her eyes even wider and rolled her eyes in disbelief. Why are you calling me Elder Blue? Am I that old already? She asked. Miss, you are the Chief Blue of the Five Sylph sect? It was Yue Buchun's turn to be completely shocked this time. He had known that the Five Sylph sect was a very sinister and vicious sect, and had always been referred to as the Five Venom sect among fellow martial people behind the back. When the sect was founded about 100 years ago, it was actually named the Five Venom sect, and the founder of the sect and the key members of the sect were all Miao minorities. After when several Han members joined the sect, they were able to convey to the Miao members that Five Venom was not such an elegant name, and changed it to Five Sylph instead. The Five Sylph sect specialized in using miasma, parasites, and venomous pests, and shared great fame with the 100 Toxic faction. One leads the northern region, and the other tops the southern region in their knowledge of poison. Among the many members of the Five Sylph sect, most were Miao minorities, and lacked the skills in scheming shown by their counterparts in the 100 Toxic faction. But the way they used their poison were so eerie and creepy that they were simply unimaginable. The rumor in the martial world said that when the 100 Toxic faction had wanted to poison someone, even though it was impossible to guard against the attacks, after some careful investigation and deduction, one could still understand how the poison worked. On the other hand, when someone was poisoned by the Five Sylph sect, even if the executor explained it in detail, it would still be totally unbelievable and unimaginable. The uniqueness and the eeriness simply could not be reasoned using normal logic. I am Blue Phoenix. Didn't you know that already? The girl explained with a grin. I told you that I am from the Five Sylph sect, but not a subordinate of Chief Blue. Now, other than Blue Phoenix herself, who else would not be a subordinate of Blue Phoenix within the entire Five Sylph sect? At that word, the girl broke into loud giggles. The Peach Valley Six Fairies also broke into loud laughter. Mr. Yue is so slow. She pretty much told him, yet he keeps nagging away. The only thing Yue Buchun had known about the Five Sylph sect chief was the last name Blue. Now, after hearing what the girl had just said, he realized that the chief's full name was Blue Phoenix, and the girl's colorful and pattern-rich dress did make her look like a phoenix. At the time, it was tradition for Han families to keep a girl's maiden name secret. The maiden name would only be revealed the day when the prospective in-laws family proposed an engagement with gifts and performed the maiden name revelation ceremony. Even though martial families in the martial world didn't quite stick to that tradition to the letter, they still wouldn't just give it out randomly. But this Miao girl revealed her maiden name outright so easily in front of a large crowd on the river, without showing any trace of bashfulness. Though her demeanor was natural and graceful, and the mentioning of her own name, the tone of her voice became even softer and sweeter. So, it is Chief Blue herself who has come personally. It is certainly my lack of manners to have not greeted your gracious presence appropriately. May I ask what Chief Blue has to teach me about? Yuebuchun cupped his hands together again to salute. So she is the leader of this five sylph sect, okay, who are experts in poison. I am completely illiterate. What can I teach you? Unless you mean you can teach me. See, the way you dressed does look like that of a school teacher. So, you are thinking about teaching me to read, aren't you? I am too thick-headed. You Han people are all too cunning. I doubt I'd be able to learn all that, Blue Phoenix replied with a grin. Is she just acting dumb, or has she really no idea about standard polite greetings? Judging from the expression on her face, she doesn't seem to be putting on an act, Yue Buchun thought to himself, so he simply asked, Chief Blue, why are you here? Is Ling Hu Chong your apprentice brother, or your apprentice? Blue Phoenix asked. He is my apprentice, Yue Buchun answered. Is it alright if I take a good look at him? Blue Phoenix requested. But he is in poor health and a state of delirium at the moment, and would be unsuitable for coming out to pay his respects. Yue Buchun wasn't too fond of the idea. Pay his respects? Blue Phoenix uttered in surprise, opening her big, round eyes even wider. I don't need him to pay me respects. He is not a subordinate of my five sylph sect. Why would he need to pay me respects? Besides, he is that one's good friend. Even if he does want to pay me respects, I don't deserve it. I heard that he drew his own blood to feed old man's daughter in order to save her life. Such kind of passion, Such kind of passionate and affectionate man is the kind we meow girls admire the most. That's why I've gotten to take a look at him. That's why I've got to take a good look at him. Well, Yue Buchun hesitated. I know he is badly wounded and have lost a lot of blood. You don't have to call him out. I'll come over myself, Blue Phoenix suggested. We dare not request your gracious presence, Yue Buchun said hurriedly. Whatever, Blue Phoenix chortled, and with a gentle leap she landed on the big boat, carrying the Huashan school members. Yue Buchun noticed the grace and ease she had displayed from the leap, yet nothing suggested that she had any extraordinary kung fu skills. Taking 2 steps back, he blocked the entrance to the cabin, feeling deeply troubled. He knew that the five sylph sect would make a very tough adversary, and when fighting with such unorthodox sects, it would take a lot more than true kung fu skills to win the battle. That was the reason why he had been very polite toward the Blue Phoenix from the very beginning. The 2 members of the 100 Toxic faction had mentioned the previous night that someone had asked them to shadow the Huashan school. Birds of a feather flocked together. Most likely it was the five sylph sect that had asked them to do so. Why would the five sylph sect be hard on the Huashan school? The five sylph sect was a large faction in the martial world. When the chief of the sect came personally, logically he shouldn't have blocked the way, but to let a person with all kinds of eerie poisons all over her body into the cabin was the last thing Yue Buchun would want. Figuring that Ling Hu Chong coming out to meet Chief Blue probably would be the best solution for now, he held his position steadily and shouted out, Chong, Chief Blue wants to see you. Come out, hurry. Yes, master, Ling Hu Chong answered feebly, but since he had lost a lot of blood recently, after hearing the call from his master, he couldn't even sit up and had to give up trying after failing a few pathetic attempts. I heard that he was seriously wounded. How could he come out? Blue Phoenix objected. It's very windy on the river. We don't want him to catch a cold on top of everything he is already suffering from, do we? I'll go inside and to visit him. Blue Phoenix started walking toward the entrance of the cabin. Only after a few steps, she was already within 4 feet from Yue Buchun, and the strong scent of her fragrance filled Yue Buchun's nostrils immediately. Turning slightly sideways, hesitantly, Yuebuchun spared enough room for Blue Phoenix to get through and watched cautiously as she entered the cabin. The Peach Valley six fairies occupied the majority of the outer cabin, five of them sitting down cross-legged, while Fruits Fairy laid on the bed. Ah, you must be the Peach Valley six fairies? I am the chief of the five sylph sect, and you are the six fairies of the Peach Valley. Sylphs are fairies too. We are one of the same kind. Yebuchun grinned joyously. Not likely. We are real, and you are fake, Root Fairy challenged mockingly. Even if you were real, we have six fairies, one more than what you have, Trunk Fairy added. It wouldn't be that hard to turn that around, you know? Blue Phoenix beamed. How are you going to have one more than us? Are you changing the name of your sect to Seven Sylph Sect? Leaf Fairy asked curiously. We only have five sylphs, not seven, but we can reduce the six fairies to only four fairies. Then naturally, we would have one more than you guys, wouldn't we? A nasty grin flashed across Blue Phoenix's face as she spoke. Reduce the six fairies to only four fairies? Are you saying that you are killing two of us? Flower Fairy bellowed in fury. Kill or not, that's all up to us, isn't it? But I heard that you are friends of Ling Hu Chong. I guess we can let that pass. But you'll have to stop boasting yourself and claim that you have one more fairy than my five sylph sect. Blue Phoenix let out a triumphant smile. We love boasting ourselves. What you gonna do? Trunk Fairy snapped. All of a sudden, Root Fairy, Trunk Fairy, Leaf Fairy, and Flower Fairy all leapt to their feet and each grabbed onto one of her limbs. But before they were able to lift her up, all four of them cried out and they all let go of her simultaneously, as though following an inaudible command, each holding out his palm and gazing at it in horror. Even Yue Chun felt cold pricks all over his back when he took a quick glimpse of what the fairies now had in their palms. Two large emerald centipedes and two large spiders that had colorful stripes all over their bodies. The bodies of all four venomous pests were covered in long hairs, so disgusting that even a glance at them could make one sick. But the four venomous pests only moved slightly, and neither took a bite at the four fairies. If they had been bitten with their poisonous fangs, then the damage would have already been done, and they wouldn't have appeared as frightening. But because they were now all alert and provoked, and any slight movement could have prompted them to bite down with the poisonous fangs, the Peach Valley's four fairies dared not to move an inch, and all froze right on the spot. Okay, yep, she's the master of poison, and that her name wasn't for nothing. Blue Phoenix swung her arm conveniently, and the four venomous pests vanished all of a sudden. She must have put them away with the swing, but no one could tell where on her body did she store them. She paid no more attention to the Peach Valley six fairies and walked further into the cabin. Having been frightened completely out of their wits, the Peach Valley six fairies dared not speak another word. Ling Hu Chong and the bunch of male apprentices of the Huashan school occupied the middle cabin. By then, Madame Yue and the many female apprentices had returned to the back cabin, and the clapboard between the middle cabin and the back cabin had been closed. After casting a casual glance at the many apprentices in the cabin, Blue Phoenix walked next to Ling Hu Chong's bed and called out gently. Young Mr. Ling Hu! Young Mr. Ling Hu! The gentleness and the affection carried in her voice seemed to have reached the extreme, and the sweet sound echoed in everyone's ears. Each felt a soul-stirring sensation surging through his entire body, and almost couldn't help but answer, as if she had been calling him, not Ling Hu Chong. After these two calls, over half of the male apprentices found themselves red in the face, and their bodies quivering slightly. Yeah, their blood is moving all right. All right. How about I take a 5-minute break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys. All right. That was a dude rapping over that original song. That was pretty good. I imagine this new Blue Phoenix character sounds the same as that girl who was singing. That was her voice, right? Rapping in Chinese, that's the first for you. I have another rap song in Chinese. That's I think you would like if you like rap. I'll play it later. Maybe I'll play the original song, that original version. That was a remix version. Maybe I'll play the original version the next break. Okay, so what happened? We meet this Blue Phoenix character, who's the leader of the Five Sylph sect. Okay, who's the master of poison apparently, because she can release like centipedes and spiders from her body. Yeah, and you can just imagine her voice sounding like what you just heard. What song was that? I don't know. So can someone put the song in the chat for me? Who who are you? Ling Hu Chong opened his eyes slowly and asked in a barely audible voice. I am a friend of your good friend, so I am your friend too, Blue Phoenix answered tenderly. Ling Hu Chong acknowledged with a slight groan and then closed his eyes. Young Mr. Ling Hu, I know you've lost a great amount of blood, but don't worry, you won't die, Blue Phoenix said. But in his daze, Ling Hu Chong didn't reply. Reaching under Ling Hu Chong's quilt, Blue Phoenix pulled his hand out and started checking his pulse. But soon her eyebrows knitted into a straight line. Suddenly she stuck her head out of the window, gave a whistle, and then jabbered out many words, which neither one inside the cabin could comprehend. A short while later, four meow girls entered the cabin. All of them were about 18 years of age, and all dressed in blue skirts in white flower patterns, with an embroidered waistband around each waist. Each of them held in her hand an 8-inch long square box made of bamboo strips. Yuebuchun frowned slightly, thinking that whatever the things in the five Sylph sect members' hands were, they could not have been anything good. Just Blue Phoenix herself already had many centipedes and spiders hidden on her. Now, when these four meow girls carried these boxes into the cabin openly, all hell would probably break loose. But since they showed no signs of enmity, it would be inappropriate of him to stop them. Walking over by the Blue Phoenix's side, the four meow girls whispered something to her, and after getting a nod back, they opened the boxes. People in the cabin found their curiosity growing rapidly. All were eager to find out what kind of queer things might be stored in the boxes, except Yue Chun, who was the only one who had seen the hairy venomous insects in Peach Valley Four Fairies' palms, and only wished that he would never have to get a glimpse of the things inside the boxes. But suddenly, the strangest thing happened. The four meow girls rolled their sleeves high, exposing the snow-white arms, and then they also rolled their trousered legs high until they were above their knees. The many male apprentices of the Huashan school were stupefied as they gaped at the unusual sight, their hearts pounding madly. Ah, lifting up their skirts, eh? Oh no, Yue Buchun thought aloud. These girls from this heretical sect want to perform some kind of evil enchantment and use lust to tempt my apprentices. Just the voice of that Blue Phoenix alone was already utterly lascivious. If she performed any kind of black art on top of that, having not enough self-control, the many apprentices would undoubtedly fall for it. He couldn't help clutching the handle of his sword, determined to put a stop to it if these members of the Five Sylph sect were to undress themselves and perform any witchcraft. After the four Meow girls rolled up their sleeves and trouser legs, Blue Phoenix also rolled her trouser legs up unhurriedly. Yue Buchun winked at the many apprentices, signaling them to retreat out of the cabin so as not to be perplexed by the evil enchantment. But only Lao De Noir and Shu Daizu followed his command. Among the rest of the apprentices, some walked a few steps hesitantly toward the outside before returning to the original spot, and some others simply froze there, lost in trance. Yue Buchun gathered his inner energy around his lower abdomen and loaded his divine art of violet twilight. Soon, a shade of violet color flashed across his face. He knew that the five Venom sect had been entrenched in the southern region for over 200 years, and their notoriety did not come by accident. Undoubtedly, they knew certain vicious and venomous sorcery, and when the chief herself was performing the sorcery, it was no trivial matter. If he didn't guard his mind with the divine art, any slight oversight might have caused him to fall for her tricks. Seeing with his own eyes how these Meow girls exposed themselves in public with no regard to dignity and having no sense of shame, Yue Buchun became more and more worried. To die of poison was one thing, but what he feared the most was to lose his clear conscience under the evil spell and bring shame to himself in the presence of everyone. Maybe she is actually a fox, performing some illusion spells here. Just using those seductive skills. If that ever happened, the reputation of the Huashan Sword School and the Gentleman's Sword would have been completely ruined beyond redemption. He watched on as the four Meow girls each took something out of the box, something that wriggled back and forth in their hands. Just as he expected, these had to be some kind of venomous worms. The four Meow girls placed these venomous worms on their exposed arms and legs, and as soon as the worms were set loose, they clung tightly to the skins. Fixing his eyes on the worms, Yue Buchun soon realized that those weren't venomous worms, but rather blood-sucking leeches that were quite common in the creeks or lakes of the countryside, except that these leeches were twice the size of a regular one. One after another, the Meow girls took out more and more leeches from the boxes. Blue Phoenix also took out some leeches from one of the bamboo boxes and placed them on her own arms and legs. In only a few moments, the five girls' arms and legs were completely covered by leeches. There were at least over 200 of them in total. All the onlookers were dumbstruck, and neither had a clue as to what kind of strange scheme these five were up to. Madame Yue had been in the back cabin, but after hearing the many cries of surprise uttered by the male apprentices in the middle cabin, she couldn't help pulling the clapboard open and taking a glimpse herself as soon as her eyes met the bizarre scene. She also let out a cry of surprise. "Don't be afraid, they won't bite you." Blue Phoenix comforted her with a smile. Are you Mr. Yue's woman? I heard that you have outstanding sword skills. Is that true?" she asked. Madame Yue squeezed out a smile but didn't answer. When Blue Phoenix had first asked if she were Mr. Yue's woman, it sounded very crude. And then when she asked about whether Madame Yue's sword skills were truly outstanding, Madame Yue hesitated. If it had been someone else who had asked the same question, even if that person were hostile, she would have answered humbly. This Blue Phoenix evidently knew very little about the conventions of Han Chinese. If Madame Yue had answered that, yes, she did have outstanding sword skills, it would sound very arrogant. If she had answered that, no, she didn't have outstanding sword skills, perhaps this Blue Phoenix would have believed it and would look down upon her. With these thoughts in mind, she decided to simply reply with silence. Blue Phoenix didn't ask any further and simply stood there quietly. In the meantime, Yue Buchun found himself on full alert. If the five Meow girls had any unusual action, he was ready to strike. To catch bandits, first capture the ringleader. He would have taken Blue Phoenix down before anything else. By then, nobody in the cabin spoke another word. The only sounds were the heavy breathing from the many male apprentices of the Huashan school. After a long while, the bodies of the many leeches on the five Meow girls' arms and legs started to puff up and soon turned into a faint reddish color. Yue Buchun knew that as soon as a leech touched the skin of a person or an animal, it would make a tight grip using its sucker disc, and then start sucking blood, not letting go until it was completely full. When the leech was sucking blood from someone, the person would at most feel only a slight itch or numbness. When farmers worked in the paddy fields, they would often have leeches clinging to their legs, sucking blood out of them without their notice. "Why are these witches using leeches to suck their own blood?" he muttered to himself. "Perhaps in order to perform their enchantment, the 5 Sylph sect members must use their own blood. It seems that the time when these leeches have sucked enough blood will be the time they execute their enchantment." Madame Yue's thought process is like an introvert. She does think a lot about how others view her. But I think all of them, like all these characters, think a lot about how others view them. Their reputations are very important to them. Blue Phoenix gently lifted up the quilt covering Blue Phoenix gently lifted up the quilt covering Ling Huchang's body. Pulling a leech that was about 9/10 full off her arm, she placed it on Ling Huchang's neck next to an artery. "Hey, what are you doing?" Afraid that she might harm Ling Huchang in any way, Madame Yue yelled hurriedly. Unsheathing her longsword, she leapt into the middle cabin. "No hurry, let's wait." Yue Buchun shook his head. Clutching her longsword tightly, Madame Yue gazed fixedly at Blue Phoenix and Ling Huchang. As soon as the leech was placed on Ling Huchang's neck, it bit into his artery and started sucking again. Blue Phoenix took out a small china bottle from her chest pocket and unplugged the lid. Using the pointed fingernail of the little finger on her right hand, she picked a little bit of the white powdery substance from the bottle and then sprinkled some onto the leech's body. The other 4 Meow girls unbuttoned Ling Huchang's robe and also rolled his sleeves and trouser legs up. Then they started taking the many leeches off themselves and planting them next to the many arteries on Ling Huchang's chest, stomach, arms, and legs. Within a short moment, the over 200 leeches had all been transferred onto Ling Huchang's body. Blue Phoenix kept on picking more of the white powder and sprinkling a little bit of it on each and every one of the leeches. Then something very strange happened. While clinging to the 5 Meow girls, the more those leeches sucked, the more they puffed up. But now they all started shrinking little by little. Yue Buchun suddenly understood. Feeling much relaxed, he exhaled a long breath. Turned out that they are just using the leeches as the medium to transfer their blood into Chang's arteries, he thought aloud. I wonder what are these white powders made of? How can they have made leeches give out blood? How miraculous. Having figured it out, he gradually relaxed the grip on the sword handle. Madame Yue also returned her sword to its sheath gently as a smile crept onto her once tightened face. So what, they're doing a blood transfusion, it looked like? Yeah. They didn't check to see what blood type he has, right? That could be bad. That could end up in disaster. Even though the cabin was still swept with silence, it was far from the tension-filled atmosphere just a moment ago, when fierce battle could have been triggered at any moment. And furthermore, even the Peach Valley 6 fairies were utterly amazed by what they saw, their jaws dropping and their mouths wide open. Since all 6 mouths were wide open and could not close because of the dropped jaws, naturally neither of them could make any remark about it or argue about it. This had to be a very rare occurrence. After another short while, a light clatter broke the silence as one of the leeches, which had spilled out all the blood in its stomach, fell onto the cabin floor, wriggled a few times, and then dropped dead. One of the Meow girls picked it up and threw it into the river through the cabin window. Soon, more and more leeches fell dead and were thrown into the river, one after another. Within 30 minutes, all leeches had been thrown out of the window, and the once toast tan face of Ling Huchong now showed a slight redness of skin. The blood those over 200 leeches had sucked and transferred into Ling Huchong's body amounted to a bowl's worth. Even though it would not have made up for all the blood Ling Huchong had lost, it was enough to turn the corner for him. Yue Buchun and Madame Yue exchanged a glance at each other, both thinking, being the chief of a good-sized sect, this Miao girl didn't even hesitate to transfer her own blood into Chong's body. Since she had never met Chong before, she couldn't have fallen in love with him. She mentioned that she was a friend of Chong's good friend. When did Chong make friends with such an important and influential person? Blue Phoenix also noticed the improvement in Ling Huchong's complexion. After checking his pulses again and feeling that his pulses had become stronger, she was very pleased. They silenced the fairies. Amazing. Yep, very amazing. The only good leech is a dead leech. Hey, Arbington, what do you have against leeches? Young Mr. Ling Hu, how do you feel? She asked in a gentle tone. Although Ling Huchong didn't quite understand everything, he, at least, had figured out that the girl was healing him, and also felt much improvement in spirit. Thank you, miss. I feel much better, he replied. Do I look very old? Am I too old already? Blue Phoenix asked. Who said that you are old? Of course you are not. If it's all right with you, I'll make bold to call you a younger sister, Ling Huchong replied. Blue Phoenix was overjoyed. Her face split into a big smile as if a beautiful spring flower had just blossomed, which made it more delicate and charming. You are wonderful. No wonder the one who didn't care about any other man in this world cares about you so much. That's why, alas, she said with a smile. If you really think I am that wonderful, why don't you call me Big Brother Ling Hu? Ling Huchong grinned. Big Brother Ling Hu, Blue Phoenix called out as a slight blush shot up her face. Oh no. This sounds wrong. My good sister, my wonderful sister, Ling Huchong called out with a big smile. Ling Huchong had always been the unconventional type, and never bothered about small matters, very different from Yue Buchun, who always posed as a gentleman. As soon as he regained consciousness, he had already known that Blue Phoenix liked to hear others calling her young and beautiful. When she had asked him frankly, even though she was older than him, he still called her a younger sister, thinking that since she spared no effort at healing him, it would be totally justifiable for him to give some compliments to repay her kindness. Not surprisingly, Blue Phoenix's face lit up at these words. But Yue Buchun and Madame Yue couldn't help frowning, both thinking, Chong is so frivolous, and there is really no cure for that. Didn't Ping One Finger say that he only has 100 days left for his life? Now it's even less than 100 days. It wouldn't be exaggerating to say that one of his feet has already stepped into the coffin. Yet only moments after he regained consciousness, he was already teasing such a lascivious woman with nonsense. Big brother. She's already calling him big brother now. Big brother, do you want to eat something? Why don't I get you some pastries? Blue Phoenix asked, smiling brightly. I don't feel like eating pastries, but some wine would be great, Ling Huchong answered. That's easy. Yeah, we have the 5 jewels nectar wine that we made ourselves. You can give that a try. Blue Phoenix jabbered out some words in the Miao dialect, and 2 of the Miao girls returned to the small boat, soon returning with 8 bottles of wine. After uncorking one of the bottles, they poured the wine into a bowl, and instantly the sweet scents of wine and blossom filled the entire cabin. My good sister, There's something about your wine. The sweet scent of blossom is too strong. It completely overwhelmed the flavor of the wine itself. I guess this must have been the wine for women, Ling Huchong said. The scent of blossom has to be very strong, otherwise the wine will have this fishy smell of venomous snakes, Blue Phoenix answered with a grin. The wine will have the fishy smell of venomous snakes? Amazed, Ling Huchong asked. Certainly, this wine of mine is named the 5 Jewels Nectar Wine. Then of course we need to use the 5 jewels. What are the 5 jewels? The 5 jewels are 5 different kinds of treasures in our sect. Have a look. Setting up 2 empty bowls, Blue Phoenix turned the bottle upside down and poured the rest of the wine into the bowls. Clattering sounds rose as a few small objects fell into the bowl, and at the sight of them, several Huashan apprentices screeched in terror. Blue Phoenix took the bowl of wine in front of Ling Huchong. The wine had a very light color, almost as clear as water, from a natural spring in the mountains. Soaked in the wine were 5 tiny venomous pests: a green snake, a centipede, a spider, a scorpion, and a small toad. This sight also gave Ling Huchong a good scare. Why do you put these venomous pests in your wine? He asked. These are the 5 jewels. Don't call them venomous pests. Blue Phoenix let out a disgruntled snort. But soon she asked, Big Brother Ling Hu, are you brave enough to drink this? Well, I am a bit afraid of these 5 jewels, Ling Huchong confessed with a wry smile. Raising the bowl of wine high, Blue Phoenix drank a big gulp of it. We Meow people have this custom. When we invite a friend to drink wine and eat meat with us, if the friend refuses to drink wine or eat, then we don't treat him as a friend no more. Taking the bowl from Blue Phoenix, Ling Huchong drank the entire bowl of wine in big gulps, swallowing the 5 venomous pests together with the wine down his throat. Although he had plenty of spunk, he dared not to chew on them. Blue Phoenix was overjoyed. Embracing Ling Huchong's neck into her arms, she gave 2 kisses on his left cheek, leaving 2 red marks on his face from the lipsticks on her lips. That's my good brother, she beamed. Wow, so he drank all the 5, what was it? The snake, centipede, spider, scorpion, and small toad. In one gulp? How do you drink all that in one gulp? Oh, hey, Brittany. Well, yeah, I'm glad. Let me read what you said. You're live. I came to your channel to check some research. Use all the time to make. Well, I'm glad you find the videos helpful. Yeah, I'm glad you like them, Brittany. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's true. Why do venomous snakes smell fishy? I don't know. Ling Huchong also let out a smile, and then his heart skipped a beat when he suddenly noticed the stern look on his master's face from a glance with the corner of his eyes. Darn, that was audacious, running wild right in front of my master and master wife. Undoubtedly, master will give me a good scolding after this, and perhaps little apprentice sister will despise me even more, he muttered to himself. Blue Phoenix opened another bottle and refilled the bowl with wine, pouring the 5 venomous pests into the bowl as well. Handing the bowl in front of Yue Buchun, she said with a grin, Mr. Yue, have some wine. My treat. Yue Buchun had already felt sick just from looking at the many venomous pests soaked in wine. When he smelled the vague, indescribable fishiness covered by the strong scent of blossoms, he was seized with a sudden urge to vomit. Extending his left hand out, he pushed toward Blue Phoenix's hand that was holding the wine bowl, but unexpectedly, Blue Phoenix didn't draw her hands back. Seeing that his finger almost touched the back of her hand, Yue Buchun jerked his hand back. How come the apprentice is even braver than the master? Blue Phoenix grinned. Oh. Friends of the Huashan school, which one of you would like to drink up this bowl of wine? It will be a great benefit to you if you drink this. She held the bowl high with a hand, but there was only complete silence on the entire boat. There was no response. Blue Phoenix heaved a long sigh. I guess, other than Ling Hu Chong, the Huashan school has not another true hero. I'll drink it. I'll drink it, a man suddenly shouted out. It was Lin Pingzhi, good old Lin Pingzhi, who stepped forward and reached out for the wine bowl. Blue Phoenix expanded her eyebrows with a smile. Well, turned out. Little Lin, Yue Buchun suddenly yelled out, if you eat those dirty things, even if you survive the poison, don't expect me to ever talk to you again. Go ahead, drink it up. Blue Phoenix handed the bowl in front of Lin Pingzhi. I am not drinking it, Lin Pingzhi replied haltingly. Then hearing the loud laughter from Blue Phoenix, he went scarlet in the face. It's not because I am afraid of death that I am not drinking the wine, he mumbled. I know. You are only afraid that this pretty little girl will stop seeing you. You are not a coward. You are an affectionate lover. Blue Phoenix laughed out loud. Walking next to Ling Hu Chong, she said, Big brother, I'll see you around. She set down the bowl on the table and then waved. Getting the command, the 4 Meow girls collected the rest of the 6 bottles of wine, followed her out of the cabin, and then leapt back onto the small boat. Once again, sweet and intimate singing rose and floated above the water. Following the flow of the tide, the small boat soon gained speed and went further and further. The sounds of the singing also fainted gradually and eventually died away. Well, that was interesting. She kind of, the master was kind of embarrassed there, wasn't he? Like, she called the apprentice a hero, but not the master. Throw all those bowls and bottles in the river, Yue Buchun ordered with a frown. Yes, master, Lin Pingzhi answered and walked next to the table. Just when his fingers barely touched the wine bottle, a strong, fishy odor suddenly shot up his nostrils. His body gave a sudden shake, and he almost lost his footing and had to grab onto the side of the table for support. The wine bottles are poisonous, Yue Buchun realized at once and yelled out loudly. He swung his sleeve toward the table. The force from the swing sent all the bowls and bottles on the table flying through the window and falling into the river. Suddenly, he felt a strong feel of nausea coming from his chest, and only after gathering a good amount of inner energy were he able to hold it back. Then he heard a loud cry as Lin Pingzhi burst out vomiting. Only seconds later, cries after cries rose as more and more people joined Lin Pingzhi and started throwing up wildly. Even the Peach Valley 6 fairies and the sailors at the stern of the boat were no exceptions. After fighting the urge forcefully for half a day, Yue Buchun could no longer endure the sickness and also started vomiting himself. The many people kept vomiting back and forth. Even after they have spat out all the food inside their stomachs, the retching feeling did not go away, and they started vomiting up gastric juice instead. And then after there was no more gastric juice left for them to spit out, the itching at their throats and the retching feeling inside their stomachs still remained. Everyone felt as though it would have been much better if they had something inside their stomach, so they have something to spit out, compared to the vomiting again and again with an empty stomach. Among the dozens of people aboard the boat, Ling Hu Chong was the only one who didn't throw up. Yeah, I think we know what happened. I think he took an antidote. Ling Hu Chong, that witch regards you with special respect. She must have fed you the antidote, Fruit Fairy said. I didn't take an antidote. Could that bowl of poisonous wine have been the antidote? Ling Hu Chong muttered. That has got to be it. That witch saw that you are a handsome lad and fell for you, Fruit Fairy concluded. Nah, I don't think it was because he's a handsome lad. It was because he praised that witch, saying that she was young and beautiful and all that, Branch Fairy disagreed. Well, he still had to be brave enough to drink the poisonous wine and swallow those 5 venomous bugs, hadn't he? Flower Fairy added. He's not throwing up, but how do you know that it wasn't because he is even more seriously poisoned than the rest of us with those 5 venomous bugs inside his stomach? Leaf Fairy speculated. Oh no, that's terrible! Branch Fairy cried out. When Ling Chong drank the poisonous wine, we didn't stop him or even say anything about it. If he dies from the poison, what are we gonna do when Pink One Finger finds out about it? Pink One Finger said he was going to die soon anyway. What's the big deal if he dies a few days earlier? Root Fairy shrugged it off. It's no big deal for Ling Chong, but it will be a big deal for us, Flower Fairy exclaimed. Don't worry, we'll just take it on the lam. That Pink One Finger is a fatty with short legs. I am sure he won't be able to keep up with us. Fruit Fairy comforted him. Even while vomiting left and right, the Peach Valley 6 fairies didn't want to give up arguing. Noticing that the sailor operating the rudder also kept vomiting nonstop, and the boat had been shaking back and forth dangerously, Yue Buchun leapt onto the back of the boat and steered the boat toward the south bank. He had resourceful inner energy. After circulating his inner energy a few times, the retching feeling in his chest gradually decreased. Slowly, the boat pulled over by the bank. Yue Buchun jumped onto the bow of the boat and threw the iron anchor down the river. The iron anchor was well over 200 pounds and would have taken 2 sailors to carry it. Seeing that Yue Buchun, who looked just like a gentle and feeble scholar, was able to not only pick the iron anchor up with just one hand, but also throw it dozens of feet away without sparing much effort, the boatmen were left breathless. But that didn't last very long, because they soon had to return to their miserable vomiting routine. Everybody went ashore one after another. Kneeling by the river, they drank a stomach full of water and then spit them out. After several cycles, the vomiting finally stopped. The section of the bank where they had parked the boat was a desolate and out-of-the-way spot, but several miles east from where they were, rows of houses and buildings glowed in the sunshine from the distance. It appeared to be a town. There is still residual poison on the boat. We can't use the boat anymore. Let's go to that town first, and then we'll figure out something, Yue Buchun suggested. With Trunk Fairy carrying Ling Chong on his back and Branch Fairy carrying Fruit Fairy on his back, the group walked toward the town in the distance. After they entered the town in the van of everybody else, Trunk Fairy and Branch Fairy walked into a restaurant. Setting Ling Chong and Fruit Fairy down onto 2 benches, they shouted immediately, Waiter! Waiter! Bring us some wine, some dish, and some rice! In a casual glance, Ling Chong suddenly noticed somebody, and his heart skipped a beat. A short Taoist priest sat up straight in the middle of the dining hall. It was none other than the headmaster of Qingcheng, Yu Changhai. Oh, this guy again. The headmaster of Qingcheng apparently was in the middle of a tight encirclement. He sat by a small table, on top of which lay a wine kettle, a pair of chopsticks, 3 plates of light snacks, and a shiny longsword showing its naked blade. 7 benches surrounded the small table, a person sitting on each of them. Among the 7 people, some were men and some were women, but all faces looked vicious and cruel. Each of the benches also had weapons on top of it. The 7 of them simply gazed at Yu Changhai, neither of them making any sound. The headmaster of Qingcheng appeared to be well composed. When he raised his wine cup first, When he raised his wine cup for a sip with his left hand, the sleeves didn't show the slightest sign of quiver. This short priest must be very frightened in his heart, Root Fairy commented. Of course he is. He's 7 against 1. He doesn't have a chance to win, Branch Fairy added. If he isn't afraid, why is he holding the wine cup with his left hand, not his right hand? Certainly he wants to spare his right hand in case he has to grab onto his sword real quickly, Trunk Fairy said. At that comment, Yu Changhai let out a disgruntled snort and then handed the wine cup from his left hand to his right hand. He heard second brother's words, but didn't even dare to look at second brother. I'd say he is afraid indeed. I am not saying that he is afraid of second brother. He is afraid that if he gets distracted, the 7 enemies would attack all at once, and he would end up being chopped into 8 pieces, Flower Fairy speculated. This short priest is already so small. If he gets chopped into 8 pieces, isn't he going to be even smaller? Leaf Fairy chortled. Although Ling Huchang bore a grudge against Yu Sanghai, seeing that Yu was surrounded by tough enemies, he didn't want to take advantage of Yu's situation. 6 fairy brothers. This priest is the headmaster of Qingcheng, he said. Headmaster of Qingcheng? Big deal. Is he a friend of yours? Root Fairy asked. I dare not make friends with his high social position. He is not my friend, Ling Huchang answered. Great. If he is not your friend, then we've gotten a good show going here, Trunk Fairy grinned. Bring me some wine. Hurry up. I want to enjoy my wine while watching how the short priest will be chopped into 9 pieces, Flower Fairy shouted, smacking the table in front of him loudly. Why 9 pieces? Leaf Fairy asked. Look at that mendicant monk over there. He's wielding 2 tiger head machetes. That's why he'll produce 1 more piece, Flower Fairy explained. That's not likely. Some of these people use a wolf-fanged hammer, and some others use a golden cane. How are they going to chop? Leaf Fairy argued. Let's be quiet, Ling Huchang urged. We are not helping either side. Let's not distract Master Yu, the headmaster of the Qingcheng Sword School. The Peach Valley's 6 fairies stopped talking, and all stared at Yu Sanghai with eyes fixed and big grins on their faces. One by one, Ling Huchang surveyed at the 7 people who surrounded Yu Sanghai. The first one was a mendicant monk, his long hair well reaching his shoulder, a shining copper hoop on his head bound the long hair together, and a pair of crescent-shaped tiger head machetes sat on the side of his table. Sitting at the next bench was a woman in her 50s. Her hair had patches of gray, and her face was covered by some kind of a grim complexion. She had a 2 feet long short knife lying by her side. Next to her were a monk and a Taoist priest. A red frock as red as blood draped over the monk's shoulder, and an alms bowl and a symbol lay silently by his side. Both the alms bowl and the symbol were made of fine steel. The steel symbol had very sharp edges. Obviously, it was a formidable weapon. The Taoist priest had a tall build. An octagonal wolf-fanged hammer, which appeared to be very heavy, sat on his bench next to him. On the bench to the right of the Taoist priest sat a middle-aged beggar with his legs stretched out, and 2 green snakes coiled around his head and shoulders. Both of the snakes had triangular-shaped heads. Their long tongues shot in and out viciously. The last 2 were a man and a woman. The man had a blind left eye, while the woman had a blind right eye. Each had a cane leaning against his or her bench. The bodies of the 2 canes were extra thick and shined with a glistening golden color. If they were truly made of gold, the weight would have been extraordinary. Both the man and the woman were in their 40s and looked just like any downhearted wanderers in the martial world. Yet they carried with them such expensive canes, making an unspeakably eerie scene. The mendicant monk fixed his eyes at Yu Sanghai with ferocious stares, and slowly he reached out with both hands and grabbed onto the handles of the 2 machetes. The beggar took off the snake around his neck and then coiled it onto his right arm, aiming the head of the snake at Yu Sanghai. The other monk picked up his steel symbol. The Taoist priest lifted his wolf-fanged hammer, and the middle-aged woman also placed the short knife in her grip. Obviously, they were ready to launch a synchronized attack. Okay, what was Yu Sanghai's voice again? I think it was a little high, right? Winning by numbers. Isn't that the old trick of you heretical evil demons? Bring it on. Yu Shanghai is not afraid of you. Yu Shanghai let out a hollow laugh. Yu Shanghai, we don't want to kill you, the one-eyed man suddenly spoke. That's right. As long as you behave yourself and hand over the evil resisting sword manuscript, we'll let you leave with no troubles, the one-eyed woman exclaimed. Oh, they're all after that book, man. Yue Buchun, Ling Huchong, Lin Pingzhi, and Yue Lingshan were all taken by big surprise when they heard the woman mentioning the evil resisting sword manuscript. Neither had expected that the reason these 7 people had surrounded Yu Shanghai was actually for the sake of the evil resisting sword manuscript. They exchanged a few stares among themselves, all had the same thought in their minds. Could this evil resisting sword manuscript really be in Yu Shanghai's hands? Why wasting time with this dwarf? Let's whack him first and then search his body, the middle-aged woman said with a chilling tone. Maybe he hid it in a secret spot. If we can't find it on him after we whack him, wouldn't that be too bad? The one-eyed woman said. If we can't find it, then we can't find it. It's not going to be any worse. The middle-aged woman curled her lips. She spoke in such an indistinct manner. Turned out that more than half of her teeth were already gone. Oh. So she said, if we can't find it, we can find it. It's not going to be any worse. The middle-aged woman curled her lips. Yu Shanghai, you listen to my advice. You'd better give up. This sword art manuscript is not yours to start with anyway. You've already had it for so many days. I am sure you've read it so many times that you probably have memorized everything. Why still hold on to it so tight? What good does it do for you? The one-eyed woman persuaded. But Yu Shanghai did not say a word, only gathering his inner energy around his lower stomach, absorbed in the pre-battle preparation. Right at that moment, sounds of laughter floated in from outside as a man with all smiles walked in the door. The man was dressed in a long Pongyi robe. What's Pongyi? All right. Wait. Dun, 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 dun. Pongyi. Oh, it's a kind of cloth. I guess it's a thin kind of cloth. The man was dressed in a Pongyi robe. The top of his head was already half bald, but the beard under his chin did not have a sprinkle of gray. His clothes looking costly and luxurious, his face glowing with health, the man looked like a merchant prince, holding an emerald snuff bottle in his left hand and a 1-foot-long folding fan in his right hand. The chubby man had an affable expression on his face. Oh wait, karaoke? Oh shit. Oh no. Okay, yeah. If I don't know a word, I have to do one karaoke song. So I guess you caught me. Damn it, why did I switch that up? Alright, that's one song. That's one song. At the end. After spotting the many people upon entering the restaurant, he was taken by surprise, and his smiles shrank back a little. But only seconds later, he was all smiles once again. What does this guy sound like? Maybe he's happy? He's chubby and has an affable expression on his face. Okay. How fortunate, how fortunate! I had not expected that all the heroes of the present time have gathered here today. I must consider myself very fortunate indeed. He cupped his hands in greeting, and his face beaming. Now, which good breeze has brought the master Yu of the Qincheng Sword School here to the Henan province, he said to Yu Shanghai. I've long heard that the Pine Wind sword art of the Qincheng Sword School is a unique and superb kung fu style of the martial world. It looks like we are finally going to have the chance to broaden our horizons today. What song? Yeah, so I think I made a bet, or not a bet. I made a deal with the chat that for every word that I don't know the definition of, that chat catches me on, then I'll sing a karaoke song. But Yu Sanghai still focused on loading his inner energy and paid no attention to him. Turning toward the one-eyed man and the one-eyed woman, the man cupped his hands with a big grin. I have not seen the tongue cypress whiz duo wandering about the martial world for a good while. Looks like you've made a good fortune in the last few years. You flatter us. It's nothing compared to what Mr. Yo makes, the one-eyed man answered with a slight smile. The man uttered 3 laughs at those words. I have only gotten a facade. Whatever I earn with one hand, I spend with the other. Just from my nickname, people can tell that I only look good on the surface, but very hollow inside. What is your nickname? Branch Fairy couldn't help but ask. The man cast a glance toward Branch Fairy and soon found 6 strange-looking fellows, all staring at him curiously. But he had no clue as to who these 6 were and where they had come from. I have a very ugly nickname called Slippery and Hard to Grip, he chortled as he spoke. People say that I love to make friends, and for the sake of friendship I never stint money, and have no problem spending them. Hence, although I make good money, they don't stay in my hands long, because I don't have a good grip of them. Doesn't this friend Yo Sun here have another nickname? The one-eyed man cut in. Really? How come I've never heard of it? Yo Sun grinned. Loach soaked in oil, slippery and hard to grip. A cold voice suddenly spoke. The voice sounded indistinct then, of course. Oh, it was the voice of the woman who had lost over half of her teeth. Holy cow! Flower Fairy yelled out. A loach itself is extremely slippery already. Now when it's soaked in oil, who can ever get a good grip onto that? That's only because friends in the martial world were flattering me, praising about my Qinggong skills, saying that I am as quick as a loach, but it is really embarrassing. This little kung fu of mine is really not worth mentioning. Madame Zhang, you are looking extremely good these days. Yo Sun beamed at the woman and then bowed down deeply. I'm getting confused as to who is talking here. What a glib tongue you have there. Stay away from me. The old woman, Madame Zhang, turned the whites of her eye up and yelled. The man named Yo Sun must have had a very good temper. Hearing those harsh words, he didn't show a slight sign of annoyance and turned to the beggar instead. Alright guys, hold on. Who is who? Does this friend Yo Sun here have another nickname? How come I never heard of it? Okay, I think so. Yo Sun is the big guy. Is the fat guy, yep. Double Dragon, Divine Beggar, Brother Yan. The 2 green dragons of yours are looking even more vigorous and nimble now. The beggar's name was Yan San Sing, and his nickname was actually Double Snake Ruthless Beggar, but Yo Sun changed it to Double Dragon Divine Beggar on the fly. Even though the Yan San Sing was a very vicious and ruthless man, he couldn't help but smile at those words. Yo Sun also knew the long-haired mendicant monk Cho Song-yan, monk Sibao, and Taoist priest Yu Ling, and also said some praising words to each of them. While laughing and joking, he had eased up the tense atmosphere at swords points in the short amount of time. Hey, loach soaked in oil, why didn't you say anything about us, praising the 6 brothers of us for our excellent kung fu and outstanding skills? Leaf Fairy suddenly yelled out. That's of course something I'd praise about, Yo Sun replied with a smile. But before he even had a chance to finish his sentence, all of a sudden his 2 wrists and 2 ankles were already in the grips of Root Fairy, Trunk Fairy, Branch Fairy, and Leaf Fairy, who immediately lifted him off the ground without pulling hard. What wonderful kung fu! What brilliant skills! Such superb techniques are so rare throughout the ages, Yo Sun praised hurriedly. Why are our kung fu skills so rare throughout the ages? Root Fairy and Branch Fairy asked at the same time. My nickname is Slippery and Hard to Grip. Frankly speaking, no one could have gotten a tight grip on me. But as soon as the 4 of you reached out with your hands, you caught me with such ease, and I became neither slippery nor hard to grip. The kung fu skills you have demonstrated with are so exceptional that throughout the ages, no one had ever seen or heard about kung fu skills this great. When I wander about the world after today, I simply have to publicize the 6 great kung fu masters' names wherever I go, so that everyone in the martial world would know that there are such extraordinary heroes in this world, Yo Sun explained. The 6 fairies were overjoyed. Wasting not another second, they immediately set him down on the ground. Slippery and hard to grip, you certainly deserve the reputation. See, didn't you just get out of the grip once again? Madame Zhang said coldly. That's only because the 6 great kung fu masters had exceptional kung fu skills. I admire them so very much, Yo Sun answered. But I am so ignorant, I don't even know what the names of the 6 senior masters are. May I ask what your respectful names are? We are 6 brothers called the Peach Valley's 6 fairies, Root Fairy explained. I am Root Fairy. He is Trunk Fairy. Soon he had introduced the names of all 6 of them. That's wonderful, wonderful. The name Fairy is so appropriate to go with the kung fu skills of the 6 of you. Only people with such magical and exceptional kung fu skills, which have risen above this world and attained sainthood, are qualified to use the name Fairy. Yo Sun applauded. The Peach Valley 6 fairies felt great rejoicing. You are very smart and have very good insight. You are awesome, they exclaimed in unison. Are you going to hand out the evil-resisting sword manuscript or not? Glaring at Yu Sanghai, Madame Zhang yelled, but Yu Sanghai ignored her yet again. Oh, I see. So your dispute is over the evil-resisting sword manuscript. But from what I heard, the sword art manuscript isn't in Master Yu's possession, Yo Sun said. Are you saying that you know who has it? Madame Zhang asked. This person is very, very famous. If I speak his name out, I am afraid it will scare the wits out of you, Yo Sun exclaimed. Speak up, the mendicant monk Cho Songyan yelled at him. If you don't know the answer, then be gone and stop being a hindrance. This great master must have had a bit too much of roasted pork or roasted lamb, and the extra internal heat is fuming the hot temper. My kung fu skills are very ordinary, but I certainly have very quick access to information. Whenever there are secret messages floating around the martial world, it wouldn't be easy for them to get past my eyes and ears without my noticing, Yo Sun replied, still beaming. The Tongue Cypress Whiz Duel, Madame Zhang, and the rest of the group all knew that Yo Sun was speaking the truth. This Yo Sun loved poking his nose into other people's affairs, and would spare no effort at making his way into every nook and corner for information. There weren't really much that he wouldn't know about in the martial world. So they asked in unison, Don't keep us guessing. Who on earth has the evil resisting sword manuscript? Oh, these are all good suggestions so far. The song suggestions. What should we do with the drunken sailor? That's a good one. Um, Say My Name is a good one. The Rick Roll song? I don't know if I know that song. I only know like the 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 chorus. Careless Whisper. Oh shit, that's good too. Tub thumping. These are all good, guys. Remember them for the end, okay? All right, guys. Give me 5 minutes. 5 minute break. I'm gonna play the song that was in the beginning, but not remixed. So only the girl singing. Alrighty, I'm back. Do. What, you would not give me 5 minutes? Well, you just did, didn't you? Korea, I owe you 2 songs? No, I owe you 1 song. You only caught me on 1 word, right? Not 2. There's still time though. Like, I think there's a lot left of the chapter. Oh no. All right, so yeah. So remember the martial world is in this book, right? It's split into kind of 2 factions, right? The orthodox side and the unorthodox side. So we've met before this chapter. We met a lot of the orthodox side, right? And we found out that a lot of them aren't that good, right? Even though they're considered the good guys, a lot of them like aren't that good. So some people were saying, oh, maybe the orthodox side is not is the bad side, and the unorthodox side are the good guys. But then now we're meeting a bunch of the people from the other side, from the unorthodox side, and it seems that they're also kind of the same. Like they're also most of them are kind of unorthodox, kind of uncivilized people, right? But there are also good people and bad people. Okay, so this clear delineation between the good side and the bad side doesn't seem to be true, and there are good people and bad people on both sides. Sing for you? I'm singing at the end. Like, all the songs we'll sing at the end. Do a whole thing. All right, so he's gonna tell us who has the evil resisting sword manuscript. Wait, what? Okay, Korea is saying that I need to sing 2 songs. No, I didn't have to. Okay, I looked up minority, not because I didn't know what minority meant. I looked it up to see like if it actually was referring to a specific minority, or just like it means what the word is, like minority, an ethnic minority. That doesn't mean I didn't know what that meant. And also, you didn't catch me on it. No one called me out. So you gotta call me out. That was the deal. All right, so he's telling us who has the evil resisting sword manuscript. Well, you all know my nickname, slippery and hard to grip. Whatever I earn with one hand, I spend with the other. To be frank with you, I have been completely broke for quite some days. But you, on the other hand, are all loaded money bags. Now, it wasn't easy for me to obtain this important information, and it looks like this is going to be a great opportunity for me. The old saying said it well. A sharp blade should be presented to a true man, and beautiful rouge should be given to a pretty woman. So important information, of course, should be sold to moneybags. I'm not keeping you guessing, I'm just waiting for the right offer. Fine, let's kill Yu Shanghai first, and worry about forcing the secret out of this loach later. Attack! Madame Zhang shouted. As soon as the word attack was spoken, sounds of weapons rapidly colliding with each other echoed. The 7 attackers had all left their benches, and each exchanged a few moves with Yu Shanghai. The attack stopped just as abruptly as how it had started. Within seconds, the 7 attackers had retreated back to their original positions, still encircling Yu Shanghai in the middle. Blood gushed out from the cuts on Monk Xibao and Monk Chou Songyan's thighs. Yu Shanghai had handed the sword to his left hand. The part of his robe near the right shoulder had been torn into pieces, the result of a heavy strike from one of the attackers. Again, Madame Zhang shouted out, and the 7 of them lunged forward all at once. Some more rapid clanking sounds exploded before the 7 retreated back once again, leaving Yu Shanghai in the middle. This time, Madame Zhang took a hit on her face. A long cut dragged from the middle of her left eyebrow all the way down to her lower jaw. Yu Shanghai also took a chop on his left arm. No longer able to wield the sword with his left hand, he handed the sword back to his right hand. Master Yu, we are both members of the Taoist order. Why don't you listen to my advice and surrender? Priest Yu Ling raised his wolf-fanged hammer and urged. Yu Shanghai let out an angry snort, and cursed indistinctly. Madame Zhang didn't even bother to wipe the blood off her face. Raising her short knife and aiming it at Yu Shanghai, she shouted, "Once!" Before she was able to spit out the word again, a voice suddenly shouted out loudly, "Hold it!" A man rushed into the circle of attackers in quick strides and stopped right next to Yu Shanghai. 7 against 1, isn't that a bit unfair? Besides, didn't Mr. Yo clearly say that the evil resisting sword manuscript was not in Yu Shanghai's possession? He said. It was Lin Pingzhi. Oh. Ever since he caught Yu Shanghai in his eyes, Lin Pingzhi never let Yu out of his sight for a single second. After watching Yu getting injured in both arms, remember Yu Shanghai was the guy who basically killed Lin Pingzhi's that entire company, that his family business. And he started everything off in the very beginning. After watching Yu getting injured in both arms, he knew that another round of attack from Madame Zhang and the rest of the attackers would have chopped Yu Shanghai into shreds. His hatred toward Yu Shanghai was even deeper than the ocean. He had long vowed to kill this monster, one day with his own hands, and would never have allowed Yu Shanghai to die from other people's hands. That was why he immediately stepped forward and stopped the next round of attack. Who the hell are you? Do you want to die with him? Madame Zhang snapped. No, I don't want to die with him. I just thought that this is a bit unjust and wanted to speak out in fairness to him. Why don't we stop fighting? Lin Pingzhi answered. Let's just whack him too, Chou Shongyan suggested. Who are you? So bold, you bold and reckless brat. Do you always take on other people's trouble? Priest Yu Ling snubbed. I am Lin Pingzhi of the Huashan Sword School, Lin Pingzhi answered. You are from the Huashan Sword School? Where is young Mr. Ling Hu? Oh my god, they all know about Ling Hu Chong. The Tongue Cypress Wiz Duel, the Double Snake Ruthless Beggar, Madame Zhang, and the rest of the group all shouted in unison. I am Ling Hu Chong. Ling Hu Chong cupped his hands in greeting. I am only a boorish youngster. I certainly do not deserve the title of a young master. Oh, of a young mister. Are you acquainted with a friend of mine? Along the journey, many prominent masters with exceptional talents or eccentric behaviors had all showed great respect and made up to him, and all of them had claimed that it had been for the sake of a friend of his. All the while, Ling Hu Chong still had no clue as to when he had made such an infinitely resourceful friend. When he heard the seven asking about him, he had figured that it must have had something to do with this mystic friend again. And sure enough, the group of seven all turned toward him and saluted respectfully. As soon as the seven of us received the message, we hurried over here, traveling days and nights, so we could have the honor to meet you. It's wonderful that we get to pay you a formal visit right here, Priest Yu Ling said. Yu Sanghai had been injured very badly. Finding out that the one who had stood up for him and helped him out of the predicament was actually Lin Pingzhi, he was taken aback greatly. But it didn't take him long to figure out Lin Pingzhi's true intention. Seeing that the seven attackers were all in the middle of a conversation with Ling Huchong, he quickly made up his mind. He wasn't injured in his legs, so all of a sudden he leapt backward and dashed into the back room of the small restaurant. Before anyone had any time to react, he had fled from the back door speedily. Yan Sanxing and Chou Songnian both cried in surprise, but it was already too late to chase after him. Yo Sun walked in front of Ling Huchong, beaming brightly. When I came from the east, he said, I heard many fellow martial friends mentioning about young Mr. Ling Hu's great name. In my heart, I've been looking up to you for a long, long time. Then, when I heard that the dozens of chiefs and leaders from various sects, clans, caves, and islands would be meeting young Mr. Ling Hu on top of the 5-Tyrant Ridge, I immediately hurried over to join in the fun. I certainly didn't expect that I'd be so lucky to have met young Mister ahead of everyone else. Don't worry, you can set your heart at rest now. This time, people are bringing at least 100 different types of Catholicon to the 5-Tyrant Ridge. The little injury of yours will be cured in no time. Ha ha ha. Wonderful, wonderful. He took Ling Huchong's hands into his own and swayed gently as he spoke, looking utterly intimate. What dozens of chiefs and leaders from various sects, clans, caves, and islands? What 100 types of Catholicon are you talking about? I am at a complete loss. Astounded, Ling Huchong asked hurriedly. Remember, Catholicon means a panacea, like a medicine that works for anything, that cures anything. Don't let unnecessary worry trouble you, young Mr. Ling Hu. Even if my guts were as large as the heavens, I would still dare not to talk recklessly about the reason behind. Young mister, you can just rest assured. I certainly dare not to talk nonsense. Even if you don't take offense, when the words get out and get into other people's ears, how many heads do I have? Even if I were 10 times more slippery, sooner or later somebody would have pulled my head off all the same. If you truly dare not talk nonsense, why have you brought this thing up again and again? Madame Zhang snubbed with a gloomy face. Whatever is happening on the 5-Tyrant Ridge, young Mr. Ling Hu will see with his own eyes in just a short while. There is no need for you to be long-tongued here. Now let me ask you one more time. Who on earth has that evil-resisting sword manuscript at this very moment? Yo Sun pretended that he didn't hear the words from Madame Zhang. Turning toward the Yue Buchun couple, he grinned. Ever since I walked in the door and saw the two of you, I've been muttering to myself, this Mr. and this Madame both looked so dignified and elegant, showing a very distinguished demeanor. Which two eminent masters could the two of you have been? Since you are together with young Mr. Ling Hu, I guess you must be the headmaster of the Huashan Sword School, the world-renowned gentleman's sword, Mr. Yue and Madame Yue. You flatter me, Yue Buchun replied with a slight smile. This Yo Sun guy is very much the flatterer. The common saying says, have eyes but fail to see Mount Taishan, entertain angel unawares. Today I am really having eyes but fail to see Mount Huashan, Yosun continued. Recently, Mr. Yue blinded 15 formidable foes with a simple swing of his sword. That feat shook the entire martial world. I simply couldn't help but prostrate myself before you in admiration. What brilliant sword skills! Brilliant indeed. Wait, it was Ling Hu Chong who blinded 15 people, not Mr. Yue here. I think he's mistaken. Or else the rumor around the martial world is mistaken. He said these words so sincerely as though he had witnessed everything with his own eyes. Yue Buchun gave a suppressed snort as a gloomy look quickly flashed across his face. And Madame Yue, heroine Ning, Yosun went on, but was suddenly cut short by Madame Zhang. Are you ever gonna stop rambling? Speak up! Who has the evil-resisting sword manuscript? Madame Zhang barked. She had heard the names of Yue Buchun and Madame Yue, yet didn't show a slight sign of concern. Give me 100 taels of silver, and I'll tell you. Yosun stretched his hand out, his face split into a wide grin. You must have never seen money in your past life. It always has to do with money. Money this and money that, Madame Zhang croaked. The one-eyed man took a silver ingot out from his chest pocket and tossed it at Yosun. This has got to cover it. Now speak up, he demanded. Catching the silver ingot into his grip, Yosun weighed it in his hand. Many thanks. Come, let's go to the outside and I'll tell you. Why go to the outside? You can tell us right here, so we can all hear about it, the one-eyed man replied. Yeah, that's right. Why do you have to be so sneaky? All the audiences agreed in unison. No way, no way. Yosun shook his head back and forth. I asked for 100 taels of silver. That's 100 taels of silver per person. Not that this piece of important news, is only worth 100 taels. How can I have sold it for so cheap? That's just outrageous. The one-eyed man gave a wave with his right hand, and at that signal, Chou Songyan, Madame Zhang, Song Shanxing, Monk Xibo, and the rest of the group immediately stepped forward, circling Yosun in the middle, in the same way they had surrounded Yu Shanghai a few minutes ago. His nickname is Slippery and Hard to Grip. We shall not fight him with bare hands. Let's use our weapons, Madame Zhang exclaimed grimly. Priest Yuling picked up his octagonal-shaped, wolf-fanged hammer and waved it. Swoosh! The hammer made a circle in the air. Let's see if his head is any slippery against my hammer. The sharp and pointy wolf fangs on the hammer glinted with reflection. Taking a good glimpse of the hammer and then taking a good look at the shining and puffy head of Yosun, everybody came to the same conclusion. Yosun's head did not seem to have a very promising prospect. Yep, that's right, Gabriel. Like all the people that are like so respectful toward Ling Huchong, they're not just normal people. They're like the leaders and the masters of their own sects. Young Mr. Ling Hu, only a few moments ago, a young friend from your respectful school helped Master Yu out of the tight spots with just a few words. Now when I am in deep trouble, why haven't you said anything to help? As though you didn't see anything or hear anything, Yosun asked. If you don't speak out the whereabouts of the evil-resisting sword manuscript, I am afraid I'll have to wade in and won't be so easy on you, Ling Hucheng replied. At that word, a dull and depressing sensation rose from his stomach, and he couldn't help but cast a side glance at Yue Lingshan, thinking, even if you are wronging me for appropriating little Lin's sword art manuscript. Excellent, excellent. Young Mr. Ling Hu, please, go ahead. Madame Zhang and the rest of the group cheered all together. Yosun heaved a deep sigh. Fine, I'll speak it out. Go on, return to your seats. Why are you still surrounding me? We'd better be extra cautious when dealing with the slippery and hard to grip, Madame Zhang spat out. Alas, why did I bring much trouble to myself? Why didn't I just wait on the 5-tyrant ridge to join the fun, and would rather come here to court death? Yosun heaved another sigh. Are you going to speak it out or not? Madame Zhang snapped. I will. Why not? Yosun answered. Hey, Chief Dongfang, when did your excellence decide to show your grace's presence here? He said the last 2 sentences very loud and clear, and as he spoke, he fixed his eyes toward the west end of the street, outside the restaurant with such a bewildered stare. Astounded, everyone peered down the street, following his gaze, and soon spotted a man strolling closer and closer along the long street, a vegetable basket hanging on his left arm. This man was a marketplace monger. How could he have been the Chief Dongfang with resounding fame, Dongfang Invincible? By the time everybody remembered to turn back at Yosun, he had vanished from sight. By then, everyone finally realized that all had just been terribly fooled. Really? He fooled them with that little kid's trick? Come on. Madame Zhang, Chou Songnan, and Priest Yu Ling all started pouring out streams of abuses, knowing well that with his outstanding Qigong skills and a crafty mind, there would be no way to catch him once he had run off. My throat is dry? Yeah, after reading for a while, that's what happens to my throat. I see. Turned out that it is Yosun who has the evil resisting sword manuscript. I didn't expect that at all, Ling Hucheng said loudly. Really? Is it really in Yosun's hands? Everyone asked in shock. Of course it's in his hand. What else? Otherwise, why would he ever speak out the whereabouts of the sword art manuscript and try so hard to run away? Ling Hucheng elaborated. He spoke these words in a very loud voice, and after spitting out the last few words, he had almost used up all his strength. Young Mr. Ling Hu, why have you shifted the blame onto me? What the? Still here? Yosun's voice suddenly rose from outside the door, loud and clear, and only seconds later he had already walked back in. Madame Zhang and the rest of the group were filled with joy. Wasting no time, they quickly surrounded Yosun in a circle once again. You just fell for young Mr. Ling Hu's stratagem, Priest Yu Ling said, a big grin blossoming on his face. Alas, do I have any choice? If this piece of news had gotten out into the martial world, saying that Yosun were the one who had the evil resisting sword manuscript, do you think I'd have another day of peace in the rest of my life? I wonder how many people would be after me and give me trouble. Even if I had 3 heads and 6 arms, I'd be still no match for that kind of trouble. Young Mr. Ling Hu, you are good. Just a few words of yours are powerful enough to capture the slippery and hard to grip. Yosun pulled a long face. Letting out a wry smile, Ling Hucheng thought aloud. It's not that I am good, it's only that I have been wronged just like that before. He couldn't help but cast a glance at Yue Lingshan, and Yue Lingshan just happened to be casting a glance at him as well. When their eyes clapped, both blushed and turned their heads away quickly. Brother Yo, when you left a moment ago, you were hiding the evil resisting sword manuscript somewhere else, so we won't be able to find it? Madame Zhang mocked. That's too bitter, Yosun protested. Madame Zhang, if you speak like this, you are going to cost me my old life. Please think about it, all of you. If I have had the evil resisting sword manuscript, I undoubtedly should be using a sword, and my sword skills should have been outstanding. Then why, firstly, I don't even have a sword with me. Secondly, I don't fight with a sword. And thirdly, my kung fu skills are extremely ordinary. When everyone pondered over his words, all had to agree that he did sound reasonable. Well, maybe you never had time to study the evil resisting sword manuscript after you obtained it. Maybe you tried to learn it but failed miserably. You don't have a sword with you. Maybe somebody stole it. Root Fairy speculated. Isn't that a folding fan in your hand like a short sword? When you pointed it at that way just a moment ago, didn't you use a move from the evil resisting sword manuscript? Root Trunk Fairy exclaimed. That's right. Look at him. His fan is pointing at an angle right at this moment. That's the 59th move of the evil resisting sword arts, pointing at crafty and evil. Whoever he points his sword to, whom he will kill. Branch Fairy also joined in. At the time, the folding fan in Yo Sun's hand happened to be pointing toward Cho Songnian. The impetuous monk let out a thunderous roar and swung his two machetes at Yo Sun at once. Hey, he is only joking. Don't take him seriously, Yo Sun shouted hastily, dodging to the side. 4 clanking sounds echoed as Cho Songnian chopped twice with each of his machetes, and Yo Sun blocked all of them with his folding fan. Apparently, his folding fan was made of steel. Although Yo Sun looked like a lord in clover, chubby with light skin tones, his movement was surprisingly agile. Oh, excuse me. I burped. Although Yo Sun looked like a lord in clover, chubby with light skin tones, his movement was surprisingly agile, and only a gentle prod with his folding fan had sent the tiger head machetes swaying several feet away. One could well perceive that his kung fu skills had to be superior to the long-haired mendicant monk. It was only because he was in the middle of a tight encirclement that he dared not to launch his counterattack. This move is the 32nd move, Hard-Shelled Turtle Breaking Wind. This move chopped the block. This is the 25th move called Soft-Shell Turtle Turning Over, Flower Fairy shouted along. Mr. Yo, if the evil resisting sword manuscript is really not in your possession, then who has it? Ling Hucheng asked. Yeah, speak up. Who has it? Madame Zhang, Priest Yuling, and the rest of the people all asked anxiously. The only reason I am keeping this to myself is to be able to make a few thousand taels of silver. Yo Sun squeezed out a grin. But since you are so stingy and made up your mind to save money, fine, I'll tell you. But don't say that I didn't warn you. Once you hear about it, you'll only be able to itch in your heart, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. If it were somebody else who had laid his hands on the evil resisting sword manuscript, at least you'd still have some hope. But it is so unfortunate that it had to be this one who has it in his possession. Well. Everybody held his breath and listened on anxiously for Yo Sun to tell the name of the person who had the sword art manuscript in his possession. Suddenly, sounds of hoofbeats mixed up with sounds of horse-drawn wagons broke out on the streets and came closer and closer. Yo Sun seized the opportunity and stopped yelling. Turning his head sideways, he listened, and then asked, who's that? Speak it out! Who has the sword art manuscript? Priest Yuling pressed on. There's no need to be impatient. Of course I'll tell you, Yo Sun replied. The sounds of hoofbeats and wagons stopped abruptly outside the small restaurant. His young Mr. Ling Hu here. Our faction has prepared horses and wagons to greet your gracious presence, an aged voice announced. Ling Hucheng was anxious to find out the whereabouts of the evil resisting sword manuscript, thus prove his innocence and remove the suspicions from master wife, fellow apprentices, and little apprentice sister. Therefore, he didn't reply to the call from the outside and urged Yo Sun again. There are other people coming. Hurry up, tell us. I beg your pardon, young mister. Just because other people are coming, and it wouldn't be a good idea to tell now, Yo Sun replied. Sound of more hoofbeats rose from the distance, and soon another 7 or 8 riders arrived and stopped right in front of the restaurant. Chief Huang, are you here to greet young Mr. Ling Hu? A gallant voice asked. Yes, I am. What have you brought Chieftain Sima here today? What have brought Chieftain Sima here today? The old man replied. The man with the gallant voice snorted, and soon heavy footsteps echoed as a giant man entered the restaurant in big strides. Which of you is young Mr. Ling Hu? I am Sima Big. I've come to greet young master and bring him to 5 Tyrant Bridge to meet the many heroes, he announced loudly. Having no alternatives, Ling Hu Chong cupped his hands in greeting. I am Ling Hu Chong. I certainly do not deserve such gracious amenity from Chieftain Sima. Because I've always been big and tall since I was only a kid. My parents named me Sima Big. Young Mr. Ling Hu, you can call me Sima Big or just Biggie. Don't call me Chieftain. I don't deserve it in front of you, Chieftain Sima exclaimed. You flatter me, Ling Hu Chong replied. Pointing at Yue Buchun and Madame Yue, he introduced, These are my master and my master wife. Hello there. Sima Big cupped his hands and greeted. Turning back toward Ling Hu Chong, he said, Young mister, I apologize for not having greeted you earlier. Will you pardon me? Yue Buchun had held the headmaster post of the Huashan Sword School for over 20 years and had always been well respected by people in the martial world. But people like this Sima Big, Madame Zhang, Zhou Xiaonan, Priest Yu Ling, or the rest of the bunch, who showed great respect to Ling Hu Chong, all had very little concern about the headmaster of the Huashan Sword School. Even if they did show him a little bit of respect occasionally, it was all for the sake of Ling Hu Chong, and they didn't even try to hide that. To Yue Buchun, this was even worse than cursing him to his face. He was exasperated. But Yue Buchun was a very civilized man and didn't show any of his irritation on his face. By then, the chief named Huang had also entered the room. He was well over 80 years of age. The bush of completely gray beard under his chin almost reached his chest, but he looked hale and hearty. Bowing slightly toward Ling Hu Chong, he said, Young Mr. Ling Hu, the many brothers in our faction make our living right around this region. We've failed terribly to put up a good reception for you. Even death cannot atone for our offense. Could this have been him? Yue Buchun felt a big shock in his heart. He had known for a long time that there was a faction named Heavenly River Faction around the lower reaches of the Yellow River, and the chief Huang Bo Liu was a very senior master in the martial world. But the faction lacked strict rules and regulations, and among the many members, the good and bad were intermingled. It was simply unavoidable to have members violate laws and commit crimes. Therefore, the reputation of the Heavenly River faction was not that great. However, the many hands provided great strength, and the faction did not lack first-class fighters. It was a very large faction in the region of 4 provinces. Could this old man in front of him have been the silver-bearded dragon, Huang Bo Liu, who commanded over 10,000 faction members? If this were him indeed, then why had he shown such great respect toward Ling Hu Chong, a young lad who was only at the beginning of his career? The doubts and suspicions that boggled Yue Buchun's mind didn't last very long. When the double snake, ruthless beggar Yan San Xing spoke to the old man. Hi, silver-bearded old dragon. You are the local bully. Aren't you going to welcome us, the bunch of visitors? The gray-bearded old man was indeed the silver-bearded dragon, Huang Bo Liu. We'll have to thank young Mr. Ling Hu, he said, smiling. If it weren't for his sake, how could I ever have so many masters and heroes spare their gracious presence? Now that you are all here, you are all noble guests of the Heavenly River faction. Of course, we welcome you. Our faction has prepared a big feast on top of the Five Tyrant Ridge. May I ask young Mr. Ling Hu and the rest of the friends here to set out and head over there? The small restaurant had become so crowded by now. Ling Hu Chong knew that Yo Sun would never speak out the secret in such a completely packed and noisy place. Luckily, after this incident with Yo Sun, the suspicious master, master wife, and all the fellow apprentices should have been greatly diminished. The suspicions they had should have been greatly diminished. He was sure that the whole thing would one day come to be obvious. Having that in mind, he was no longer in an urgent rush to clear himself of blame. Master, should we go or not? Will you please direct us? Turning to Yue Buchun, he asked. Yue Buchun thought to himself, it's apparent that among the bunch of people gathering on top of the Five Tyrant Ridge, there isn't going to be a single one from the Orthodox schools. How can I mix myself up with them? It almost seems as that these people are tempting Chong to join them in using courtesy and respect. The incident with Liu Chengfeng of the Hangshang Sword School had set a good example. If one becomes close with evil people, then he cannot escape the fate of being utterly discredited himself. But under the current circumstance, how could I say no? Mr. Yue, the Five Tyrant Ridge is bustling with people and activities at the moment. Many chiefs of different caves and islands have made an appearance in the martial world for 10, 20, or even 30 years. Everyone came for the sake of young Mr. Ling Hu, and it is you, Mr. Yue, who have shaped him into such a wonderful young hero of both civil and military ability. You have brought great glory to yourself for accomplishing such a great feat. Of course, you'd want to go to the Five Tyrant Ridge. If Mr. Yue doesn't go, wouldn't that disappoint a lot of people? Before Yue Buchun even had a chance to answer, half supporting and half carrying, Sima Big and Huang Bo Liu had ushered Ling Hu Chong out of the restaurant door and into one of the horse-drawn wagons. Cho Songnan, Yang San Xing, the Tongue Cypress Wiz Duel, the Peach Valley Six Fairies, and the rest of the bunch also rushed out of the door in a hubbub. Yue Buchun and Madame Yue stared at each other and both squeezed a wry smile. These people only wanted to make sure that Chong would go there. Whether we are going or not, they didn't care at all, they thought aloud. Dad, why don't we go and have a look? Let's find out what kind of tricks these weird people are playing with Big Apprentice Brother, Yue Lingshan proposed, her curiosity growing by the minute. For a while, she remembered that the human flesh-eating black bear and white bear, and her heart hammered frantically. Figuring that if they were able to set her free for Big Apprentice Brothers' sake, then logically they shouldn't be coming back to chew on her fingers, she relaxed a little. But she still made up her mind that after they arrived at the Five Tyrant Ridge, they would make sure to keep a close distance with her father. Yue Buchun nodded his approval and then walked out of the door. After the miserable vomiting experience, he didn't eat or drink anything, and now when he walked about, it almost felt as if he was slightly disoriented and could not stand in a solid stance. A quick check with his inner energy confirmed that the inner energy he was able to gather was not as pure as it used to be, and Yue Buchun couldn't help feeling stunned. The poison from the Blue Phoenix of the Five Sylph sect is truly powerful, he muttered to himself. The group with Huang Bo Liu and the group with Sima Big both came with many horses, so they were able to spare some horses for Yue Buchun, Madame Yue, Madame Zhang, Cho Shounan, the Peach Valley Six Fairies, and the rest of the bunch to ride. Some male apprentices of the Huashan Sword School didn't have any horse left to ride and had to walk together with members of the Heavenly River faction. And subordinates of the chieftain Sima Big of the Long Whale Island. Everything ready and set, they set out toward the 5 Tyrant Ridge. All right, finish. Ah! Yeah, that was a long one. Jesus Christ. It's 8 o'clock already. Yeah. So apparently there's a meeting at this 5 Tyrant Ridge. And we don't know what it's about, do we? And apparently, like, the really important people, the really powerful people of the unorthodox side of the martial world are going over there, right? They're all meeting there, including, like he said, people who haven't shown themselves in 10, 20, 30 years. So something big is going on at this 5 Tyrant Ridge. And we'll find out what happens next week, won't we? What? I'll tell you what I am. Oh, yeah. You seen what I am, right? This is my human costume. Yeah, I'm a VTuber. This is my VTuber avatar. You know that? I was thinking someone said tub thumping. I remember that song. I don't know if I know the whole song, but that's a fun song to sing. How about that? My vote is for tub thumping. But you guys can suggest too. Am I really a reptilian? Yes, you are correct. I am a reptilian. Yeah, it is great graphics. Yeah, I paid a lot for this graphic, right? It's very 3D-ish. Yeah. All right, I need to go pee. So I'm gonna go pee, okay?